You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to yet another episode of Media Opinions. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about RPGs, which are short for role-playing games if you live under a fucking rock. I've played my share of RPGs on the channel. I've played the Fallout games on the channel quite a bit, Elder Scrolls, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Chrono Trigger, Undertale, Deltarune. I've done a shit show talking about RPGs. I did a top 20 RPGs video, which, funnily enough, is titled Top 10 RPGs, and the thumbnail even says 10, but in the video it's actually 20. But RPGs are one of my favorite genres of video games, Fallout 3 being my current favorite game. I do tend to like a lot of Bethesda RPGs, Elder Scrolls and Fallout. I enjoy most of the games for one reason or another, with my favorites being Fallout 3, Morrowind, New Vegas, Oblivion, and Skyrim. Knights of the Old Republic was one of the early RPGs I got into. It was one of the first ones I played through. It's one of my all-time favorite games. I've done playthroughs of it on the channel before. But part of what I love about RPGs is the element of choice. That's why I like RPGs. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into RPGs. Some of the choice aspects aren't there in all of them to the same degree. Sometimes it's just because of the way you play the game. Being turn-based is often a type of combat that they will have. Having a level-up system, things like that. So sometimes it's actually kind of hard to define what exactly is an RPG. For instance, is The Legend of Zelda an RPG? One could argue it has a lot of the elements, but it doesn't have, like, side quests. Actually, I think some of them do have side quests. Ocarina of Time might have side quests. Because I know there's that really big sword, like the giant knife you can get. But there's still things that seem to be missing, so it's almost like an RPG, but it's also almost like it's not. I counted it in my top 20 RPGs video, which, by the way, that video is also super outdated, because Fallout 3 is much lower on it than it would be now, considering it's currently my favorite game. I'm probably going to do a new version, but, like, what makes an RPG, right? Is it the element of choice? Is it the leveling system? That's always a hard thing to define, like, what makes something in that genre. But I've always loved that. One thing I love about RPGs as well is just being able to be a complete and total evil piece of shit. And I've always hated when people are against doing things like that, and just, it's anti-fun to me, where you're not, like, gonna go and do what you want. Because part of what makes being evil in a video game fun is it's a video game, right? It's not real. It's fun to roleplay as an evil character, hence the role-playing game. I've played Knights of the Old Republic so many times, and I tend to play Dark Side more than I play Light Side because it's fun. In Fallout 3, I often blow up Megaton. In New Vegas, I always drop the fucking ICBMs in Lonesome Road. I always just fucking let it go full steam ahead and hit the NCR. I've never played, like, a tabletop RPG. I have plenty of friends who have. I did want to play D&D sometime with Spencer, but then he moved, so then we never got around to that. Also, Corbin and I are thinking of coming up with our own tabletop RPG sort of rules. That could be fun. It's interesting, when I did my RPGs list, there was a lot of people, like, a lot of things that were put on lists that I saw online that were just not RPGs. Like, some things put Halo 2 as an RPG, and it's like, I can't think of a single argument to call Halo 2 an RPG. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Then again, I included Telltale games on that list, because I said, I did a poll, and they said kind of. But Telltale games really aren't RPGs, they're just interactive stories. But yeah, like I said, I love being evil in RPGs. The Genocide route is my favorite Undertale route. I love the Snowgrave route in Deltarune Chapter 2 as well. I honestly think Snowgrave is actually more interesting than Genocide, because you're manipulating someone else into committing the genocide for you. Another RPG series I've come to really enjoy has been the Pokemon games. Now, granted, the vast majority of the ones I've played have actually been ROM hacks, but I've still loved them nonetheless. Not to mention, I did play through Crystal, albeit using a Game Shark to give myself the team I wanted right at the start. And I have been playing through Emerald as well, although with another gimmick being that I have every Pokemon level 100 shiny. But I quite like the Pokemon games, even though they're simplistic, and I like the uniqueness, because I like RPGs with a unique way of handling the level system and stuff. I think of Fallout 3 as the gold standard, right, with it being EXP, perks, karma, things like that. But I do like when things mix it up, like in how in the Elder Scrolls, there's no EXP. It's all based on skill, right? Like your skills. Like your blade skill, or your magic skills, things like that, your destruction, your archery, whatever. That's what I love about Morrowind, which I used to actually have a problem with, because I thought, oh, the hit detection's bad in this game. No, that's the feature. What it is you're less likely to hit with a lower skill. It makes sense. It's like a roll of the dice, right? It's like a turn-based game with a chance to miss, except it's not turn-based and you're just swinging the weapon. It's interesting. KOTOR also has really unique combat, where it is also kind of a dice roll, but it like has auto-attack. Now granted, I never just do the auto-attack, I always just spam critical strike. But that is the way it works. A lot of people don't like that. It's something I enjoy because I'm used to the game, but I can understand why people can be put off with that combat, although I actually like it. And that's part of why I wouldn't want to be interested in a remake, because they're probably going to change that. Although they could make the combat better. The real reason I'm not interested in a remake is because the original's great, and I have no reason to play a remake. Especially since they'd probably throw in a bunch of new age bullshit, change a bunch of things. You know, how they always do with shit like that now. But I don't think that remake's gonna fucking happen, just like I don't think the Switch port is ever gonna be fixed to where it's fucking playable. Like, the Nintendo Switch port, once you beat Ondron, the game crashes and you can't beat it. And they were also supposed to add in, like, all of the cut content to the Switch version, but again, it doesn't look like that's gonna fucking happen. I've never been much for MMOs. I'm okay with RPGs having multiplayer, like Fable 2, I think, handled it really well. Fable 2 is one of my favorite RPGs as well. But the way that you can just join multiplayer, but one character is still the hero, the other one is just a character, I like the way they handled that, because then there's still the main character in it. MMOs, I never really got into. I played a little bit of World of Warcraft briefly, but I would always just end after the 20-day trial. The only thing that was really close to an MMO that I played was Phantasy Star Universe, and I played that quite a bit during the demo, obviously. I did a whole Nostalgic Gaming Stories episode on it. Because to me, I like RPGs where you're the single player, you're the main character, and you can basically become a god. You become so overpowered that, you know, through skill and leveling up, you can be all-powerful. I like that. And MMOs nerfed the shit out of that, which is why I hated the Elder Scrolls Online in comparison to the other Elder Scrolls games. Not to mention there's messes like Fallout 76, which everyone already knows is bad, but, anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. You guys get the idea. I love RPGs. It is one of my favorite game genres. So I just thought I'd do a little media opinions episode on it. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Toodles!